Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
This is going to be a long meeting, so I'm going to start promptly at 9. I'm going to go over our handouts for today. Right now, here's our agenda. On our agenda, there are a few resources that you'll need. If you have questions during the meeting, since this is a long meeting, if you could use those soapbox throughout the meeting. We'll stop periodically to ask you if you have questions. But if we're not at a stopping point, feel free to go to Go Soapbox to answer, and we'll answer your questions. On November 22nd is the last day to have your campus view the test security modules. They can do that as a group or individually. If they do it individually, it prints out a certificate. If you do it in a group setting, make sure to have a sign-in. The deadline to request additional materials, this is new, and I'll go over it in a few minutes after we do the announcements, but that is one of your handouts. Also, EOC quality control, we're doing 2 days of quality control. We need you to sign up. It would be nice if you signed up today during the meeting, but if you need to go back and confer with your campus, the deadline is November 22nd. And we also need for you to acknowledge that you're going to turn in your ACP materials every day during the testing window. We know that there are some campuses that have less than 8 periods, and you might not test on the first day because you don't have the same number of periods as the traditional campuses. So when we get to that point, you can also log in and capture your day schedule if you are not a traditional campus, but everybody is going to just sign in acknowledging that they are going to turn in their ACPs daily. We go over the handouts. So one handout is the AAR codes. The reason why I provided you with this information, this is from the counselors. And so we've been getting a lot of questions about what a 3 is, what a 5. So a 3 on the transcript can mean a number of things. So it can mean the student has credit from out of state, the student was at a private school and received credit from private school, the student was English 1 exempt, or is English 1 exempt, and they are no longer needing to take the English 1 exam, and or they passed the substitute assessment. We are still working on the need to pass roster. It should be produced today. When it's produced, we'll send you an email and then let you know what the status codes mean, because I know that last column, it'll indicate what they need to do. So if it says must test at least once, that means that they need to test in December. If it says substitute assessment, that means that they do not need to take the exam anymore because they have met the requirements through either PSAT, SAT, or ACT. On the back page of the first page is a code 5, and it's not shown on the transcript, but this is something that the counselors and the SPED department handle on your campus. It means that they're either an IGC student or a special education student. On the back of the handout, code 5. And so it just goes over the steps. So basically, this is information only, but we gave you this because we wanted you to know what some of the codes on the AAR mean. Okay, the next one is, go ahead.
Is there a way to pull those codes from PowerSchool, or is the only place to find them on the AAR one?
The only place that I know of is on the actual AAR. I'll ask, though, I'll ask the IT department if there's another place. I know the performance levels are in multiple places, but I don't know about the code.
That code 3 was just messing us up when we tried to pull in these to pass roster because the only place we can find where it's waived that we have found on the transcript.
Right.
We're wondering if there's a report we can pull on the
Right. They're working on it. There's a meeting next week. They're trying to make an entire page just for coding. But when I get the information, I'm going to definitely share it with you guys. Okay, locating your STAR materials packing report. We'll go over this later on in about 10 minutes. But while I'm talking, if you could try to log in to your Texas Assessment password account using your email address and password that you have set up for texasassessment.com. And if you don't have access, just email me, and while Felicia and Lakita are talking, I'll make sure that everyone has access. But you should all have access to the Texas Assessment Management System. The next handout is the accommodations request forms. If you have students that need additional support other than the designated supports and need like complex transcribing, extra day, or other support that's not listed, these are the deadlines to complete the ARF. And I've listed the website at the bottom, so you need to make sure if you want to do this for December testing, the submission deadline is December 3rd. And as a courtesy, if you plan on submitting an ARF, if you can email me and Karen to let us know so we can know to expect it and can help you walk through the process. Generally, they do not, it has to be a very, very dire special circumstance, but they rarely get approved. So the faster you submit it, the more beneficial it is for the student and they can work through it. The next handout is the oral sign administration guidelines. If you have students that will need oral administration, you need to provide the test administrator an additional training in addition to the December campus training. So there should be an oral administration training on your campus. Please go through and read the information prior to presenting the training to the staff. We've also printed out the secondary campus and test administrator manuals. In a few weeks, you'll be getting this information shipped to your campus. We're trying to be help you out because we know you're juggling 2 large test administrations. You will be getting your ACP materials before Thanksgiving. So hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. And if you notice this year we posted the PowerPoints a little earlier than we've done in the past. So hopefully that helps you out as well. And the manuals, we're about 3 weeks early than we were last year. So the manuals are posted on the website. Right now, Felicia is going to go over the website and show you all the updates that we have on it. But first, Lakita is going to go over the new item that we gave to you guys, the TC plan.
Will we get the answer documents and everything, or just we get all at one time?
I think it's everything, but don't hold me to that. But I want to, because we've already printed, we printed the answer sheets. We've done all of that, so I think it's everything for ACPs. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you all doing this morning?
Good.
Good. All right, we're gonna go through this planner. We decided to create your planner for the year. So you already have your planner for the whole entire year. So keep this is your so as we go through it really quickly, I know you probably know these hats that we have on there, right? So at some point you all wear one of these hats doing all these different things. You can find our contact information on the first page behind the cover sheet. So that's the reference we know who we are. Bless you. Also, important links that you can use for ordering, shipping, and all those good things so that you can order things. So if you try to look for something really quickly, here's your planner as your quick reference. Locating a student's assessment history, going to the student portal on the assessment, I got reading too, on the assessment website, texasassessment.com, so you can locate, those are the steps to locate the student's testing history. I know last Friday we had a lunch and learn, and some people were surprised, like they had forgotten that this was an opportunity. So when you get new students and you want to locate their testing history, like they may have come from a different district, or you don't know if they, especially like you don't know if they've taken a STAR test, you can go to the texasassessment.com to locate their testing history. Then there's a quick guide for my data on the next few pages in the planner. So here's some tips on how to use my data for those things. Then you have your calendar pages. So just looking like your regular calendar, your block calendar, you put it in here so you can flip through those. We're gonna go all the way through those pages. Make sure you highlight, and there are notes over there. The difference in this and the block calendar, we put some reminders. So on the right side, you see the TC reminders. So it gives you some reminders of some things that you can do for that month, or you should be doing for that month, okay? If you flip all the way through past to May, June, I forget we go to June. Quality control. This is your handout for quality control. So when we refer to the quality control handouts, these are the steps that you need to take for your scorables, as well as the non-scorables. Everybody see that? Then you flip past there. You don't need to know about the elementary answer document. If you're a double campus, you have middle school, it's the same thing. But the next steps are how do you fill a complete blank hand grid, a blank answer document using the steps in Power School. So you see the high school answer document, it gives you the Power School steps as well as the My Data steps. And then you see a sample hand answer document on the back, an English 2 answer document. So what do y'all think about the planner?
Awesome.
Awesome, it's a great resource?
Yes.
All right, good. So we were trying to help you out. So this is your planner. Keep up with your planner. Don't let anybody take it because it's in color. All right now? Now, Felicia's going to come and navigate us. Well, I'm going to navigate us up top.
Good morning. Good morning. I know you all have been checking on the website, and it is finally ready for you to use. And so it has been updated. All of the pages are updated. Lakeisha is going to go there. For those of you who want to follow with me, it is assessment.dallasisd.org. And you want to become familiar with it because it's a little different than the old SNA website that we were used to. Don't like it. So this is your landing page. And any of the any announcements, especially during ACP, if there are item issues or anything, they will put that on the front page. If you go to assessments, these are going to be your big pages that you will go to. You'll notice, unlike the other one, your assessments are still located along the side. So whichever assessment we're working on, if you click on there, you will find resources, and all of them are pretty much organized the same: manuals, PowerPoints, and resources. And so let's go to ACP. So right now you'll find the soft copies of the manuals that you picked up today. You will also notice that your secondary staff PowerPoint is ready. For those of you who are new, we do your PowerPoints for you to train your staff. All you have to do is go in and read and edit. Now, typically, if I'm doing the PowerPoint, I'll write little notes to you. Those of you, you know that. Go in and take those off once you read them. It does need to be adjusted a little bit, but the content is always the most updated. That's why we ask you to use the PowerPoints we create. You can change the color, you can change those type of things, put your mascot in them, but you do want to use the PowerPoints that we've created for you. And then you'll find the resources. I know there were some changes to the blueprints. All of that has been updated. A lot of the handouts that you will receive or have received, you'll find soft copies of them on that particular page. So like I know we've been getting a lot of questions about the ACP procedures for EL. So I think you picked up a handout today. Here's the soft copy version if you need to share the link or share the PDF of the document. And then let's go to STAR, since your PowerPoints are also ready. How many of you knew in the weekly, I think a week ago, we sent you the EOC PowerPoint and said you could go ahead and start editing and updating to get a head start. Just remember, we will try to have those staff PowerPoints ready for you early, but you can't officially train your staff until you've been trained. And so you'll also see soft copies of the manual. I will tell you TEA is doing a pretty good job of getting everything out. So right now, the TELPAS manuals are on the TELPAS page. Those are loaded. The STAR Alt manual, the TELPAS Alt manual. So all of the manuals that we'll be using in the spring are actually already here in your free reading time. All right, questions about how the assessments are organized? All right, then you have coordinated resources. This is basically your page. So it's your manual, the DCCR, it has the link. It's the PowerPoints we use to train you. So the staff PowerPoints are on the individual assessment pages, but the PowerPoints that we're using to train you at the meetings are under coordinated resources by month. And then you'll see CTC resources. Some of the same things that you got today in your planner are on here. For those of you who haven't signed up for Remind 101, you can find a link to do that. You'll find an individual semester 1 calendar, and then the semester 2 calendar will be loaded as well. Just if you need to like look at a page individually, and then the CTC forms. So forms that you will use during some of your testing. All right, coordinated resources is made a little different this year. Scroll to the top of you, Lakeitha. So under the same tab, you'll find the newsletters, which are basically your weeklies. If you're ever looking for a weekly, those are organized on that little tab. And then, I'm sorry, was there a question? Social media and live recordings are the actual meetings, such as today. And the pictures from the first meeting. All right. Important links. This will look a little different. It's going to look more like the page that you got in your planner, but this is where you will find those quick links if you just want to go to them instead of having to type in the actual link. Test security. All things test security can be found here. EK-Reg, the irregularity link, the steps for submitting a testing irregularity. You know you have to submit those a certain way, so there's actually, Rena has put together the steps for that. All of this was the same as last year. It's just on this page. This is also, and I'll get with Rena. We'll talk about if we need to put the CD charts under forms or under, we can keep it here. Right now they're under here, or they make it both. And your training modules, for those of you who are new, this is the link for, yes, this is the link for the new test coordinators training modules, as well as those TEA test security modules that you all have shown or are in the process of showing to your staff by November 22nd. And then any of the test security PowerPoints are going to be found on that page for test security. then testing calendars. Just soft copies of the district-wide testing calendar. I know a lot of times you all will call us and ask about contact numbers for math or for, if it's elementary, for pre-K. I think it's page 7 of your district-wide calendar. It gives you all of those contacts. I think we passed it, but I'll go up one more. Right. It gives you those curriculum contacts sometimes that you're looking for. And then there's also the semester calendar there as well. And then just a contact us page. So you got a lot to get a head start on. Any questions about the website, just because especially those of you who've used the other one in the past, it's just a little different. Not much, we try to keep it consistent, but it is a little different. So you just kind of want to play around and get used to it. But just remember, most importantly, if you're ever working on an assessment and you need resources, just go to assessment and find that particular tab. We're going to have everything you need from your staff training PowerPoints to when it's tailpass and you have to do the calibrations, the calibration roster. All of that will be found on that page for you so that you're not searching all over the place. Any questions?
Okay, Rena's gonna come up now and go over test security.
All right, here we go again with test security, everybody. A lot of this is some repeat of what we've seen before, but the state requires us to talk about it at every meeting. And again, if we're talking about it at every meeting, that means it's really, really important. So there were the 2 types of testing irregularities, the serious ones and procedural. Serious ones are the ones where staff could be involved in cheating, assisting kids directly or indirectly, changing answers, discussing secure test content, duplicating any confidential student test content, failing to report irregularity. And those are the ones where you will call the Office of Test Security immediately when you become aware of that so that we can come out and investigate. The procedural ones, not as severe, still serious in my mind because these also affect kids' scores. Things like not testing kids that are eligible to test or not following IEP's recommendations, losing materials, leaving classrooms unattended, not monitoring kids. Let's see, what else? If you have untrained staff members entering the rooms, maybe we don't talk a lot about that, but if you don't train everybody and then all of a sudden you're sending somebody in there, that's an irregularity. If they have not been trained and signed off, they can't be around the testing materials or the kids. Kids not getting enough time or too much time. Kids not getting accommodations or getting the wrong accommodations. And then the last one, test administrators using cell phones, and that's pretty much the test administrator wasn't actively monitoring. These procedural irregularities are ones where you would contact the assessment department, one of the coordinators, to see if there's something you need to do to fix it before it gets worse. So don't wait till the end of the day to tell us you gave the kid the wrong test. Call as soon as you become aware of it, and we can see if we can make an adjustment early on so the kid gets the right test. Penalties for state testing. And know that this is a combination of EOC and ACP testing, and the same test security rules apply for both. The penalties, whether it's state or local, invalidating student results, that's pretty common whenever we get any, whether it's serious or procedural. If we have to refer to TEA because of the EOCs for cheating, they could put restrictions on your credentials, they could put, give you a letter of reprimand, they could suspend your certificate, or they could revoke it. Not just yours, but the test administrator or whoever's involved. It could also be a Class C misdemeanor. If it's on a bigger scale, it could lower the accreditation for the district or the accountability rating. And if it's a charter school, they could revoke their license. At the last meeting, I mentioned that the state has a new oath, and they're calling it the general oath. It's one oath and everybody gets to sign it. Now, there's different boxes that get initialed depending on what your role is. So your principal would sign one of these, initial and sign. You would sign one of these. Your assistant would sign one of these. And then when you start training for the EOCs, your test administrators will sign this. They'll initial and sign. The front That's the back. There's a section here for the test coordinators. There's a little box right in the middle that's if you're a non-certified paraprofessional, like your assistant, or you have a teacher assistant that's a test administrator, they have to initial that and put who's supervising them. Paraprofessionals can be test administrators, they just have to be supervised by somebody with a certificate, and that's usually you guys. So they have to write that name on there. So this is the state oath for EOC. Do not get confused and assume that this one oath covers ACPs. ACPs aren't state tests. We have our district oaths. Most of you have already turned one in, signed by you and your principal. Let's see. When you do your training for ACPs, you will give them the oath to sign to be a test administrator. You will keep those. And remember, you have to keep all your documentation for 5 years. This is the front. This one is the one for principal test coordinator. Most of you have already taken care of that. And that's, it's cut off, but this is for the test administrator. And you'll pass that out at your ACP meeting. And even if you think that somebody's in your training session that's never going to be a test administrator, go ahead and make sure they sign it. Because on test day, something could happen and you might need to pull somebody to be a test administrator. And they have to be trained and signed an oath. You don't give them an oath the day of testing and say, oh, read the directions to the kids, sign the oath. That's not proper training. Seating charts, as Alicia mentioned right now, the new seating charts are on the assessment website under test security. We created new ones, those that if you're testing 25 or fewer kids, it's a 2-page. If you have more than 25 kids, it's a 3-page. You can either print them out and have them handwrite, or a lot of the sections are fillable if they want to do it online. Kind of hard to read, but these are the required elements, all the things that need to be on the seating chart, whether it's EOCs or ACPs, it doesn't matter. And if you submit an incomplete seating chart, that is considered an irregularity. Now, in the past, we've been collecting your EOC seating charts and reviewing them when you come for quality control. Because of the short turnaround between EOCs and ACPs, we're still going to collect your EOC seating charts, but we're not going to review them when you come to quality control. So when you come in to do your quality control for EOC, we'll take your seating charts and scan them and give them right back to you. And hopefully you did them all correct. Okay. You do not have to turn any seating charts in for ACPs. You still have to have them, but you don't bring them when you bring your scoreballs. Questions about the seating charts? Reporting irregularities, once you become aware that there is one, determine is it serious or procedural, you contact the right person to figure out what to do next. Be sure you always tell your principal about any irregularities that occur. You're going to collect signed statements, and that includes a statement from you. Go ahead and create a file. You put all your statements in. You'll go online to the TISB link and submit your irregularity there. And you must always attach statements to that. Otherwise, you'll get an email every morning at 8 o'clock saying you're missing a statement.
Now I'm going to give you some policy updates. Sorry, I left my cell phone over here. Okay, so first thing is about the tech students and using substitute assessments for students that are who were in high school prior to 2011, 2012. There are a number of routes they can take to now get their high school diploma. One of the options is for them to take the current STAR test. And you might have students that show up to your campus who were students prior to high school students prior to 2011-12, who need to take an exam to earn their high school diploma. If that is the case, we prefer that you call us and we'll walk you through the steps, but we are wanting those former tax TAS students to test online. So Senate Bill 213 just extends their the guidelines on what they can use to meet alternate graduation requirements. Senate Bill 213 also refers to substitute assessments for STAR. And if you Google substitute assessment STAR, you'll get the current tests that are available for students to use in lieu of taking the STAR test, and it will give you the policy. The policy is a little complicated for TSI, so you have to read the ruling in regards to TSI. For SAT, ACT, and PSAT is pretty straightforward, but for TSI there's two avenues that they can take in order to be eligible for substitute assessments. So just mentioned that. Tax student. If you do have a tax student or a tax TAS team student that shows up on your campus, you need to go to this link that's in the PowerPoint and just let us know so we can look on the system to make sure that you've captured everything that needs to be captured for the student. You will need to, when the student calls you, you need to make sure you have their email address and their current mailing address, because once the results are in, they'll email the student to let the student know, hey, you need to go to the portal and check your results. One thing I did not mention is the other option. So if they, for tax TAS teams, so if they've taken the end of course, the final exam or what the tax TAS or teams 3 or more times, or if they take STAR at least 3 times, they can be eligible for graduation by sitting before the local graduation committee. And the committee consists of 2 representatives from the assessment department and 2 representatives from the counseling department. And it's a pretty easy process. All you need to do is have work history and a resume and have earned all your credits. And then that's pretty much it. The hardest part about it is the wait, because it takes a while for the records to be processed. But that is an option. So if you get people calling you wanting to know what options are they can take a substitute assessment, they can take STAR, or if they've taken the tax TAS teams multiple times, they can just submit their resume and go before the committee.
Excuse me, how would I know that they've taken, is there a place I can look it up to see their scores?
You would contact us.
Okay, thanks.
We talked about this at our initial test coordinator meeting. No longer can we, as a state of Texas, use substitute assessments for accountability. And so that's why they're changing the guidelines on if students should test at least once. The final recommendation is not actually supposed to come out until January 26th. So it's at the end of the January is when they'll post the final recommendation. And once we get the information, we'll let you know. Once the needs to pass roster has been updated, we'll make sure to have guidance in there where it's clear that you understand the status code and who should test and who should not test. Any questions? Okay. Move on to the calendar of events. So we are uploading for online testing today. I know it says on here yesterday, but we'll upload for today. And just as a general practice, in your block calendar, in your planner, we have those dates listed. anytime you see a date listed, so for example, if we would have uploaded yesterday, it would have been based off the previous day's enrollment. So if we upload today, it'll be based off the enrollment from yesterday. So all students will be uploaded for online testing. We capture the PMPs by pulling rosters from Easy IEP and from the My Data Portal designated supports page. And the designated supports page is closed now, and we close it off to give you guys time to plan for your small groups and all the other supports. And then it'll reopen again in the middle of January. So the date is listed on the block calendar. I think it's January 16th is when it will reopen. We're doing the test coordinator training right now. Now I want to go over how to order additional materials. Now this is new. Since we're in a crunch and we are wanting you to plan ahead, and so we want to make sure that if you need additional materials, we order them before Thanksgiving. And so in order to do that, we're going to need for you to log into the system and look at what you're actually receiving prior to you getting the shipment. I was shaking my head because I don't know if I remember my password.
It doesn't. I have to.
So if you can log in with me.
It just says processing. This is what I put in my order. It doesn't tell me anything about anything. It just says it's processing. It doesn't tell me what I'm getting unless there's some way to get it.
All right. So I'm going to go to orders, view track. Then I'm going to select initial. Then I'm going to select the test administration, which would be December. And for my material type, I want to know what's happening with my test materials. And I'm going to look up Roosevelt. And then just push search. So, anybody have a question? Stop, go ahead.
We're having trouble logging in. It's saying something like another account is associated with it.
Okay, just email either Lakita or Felicia, and then we'll reset your password. Any other questions? Lauren, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right, and so all the way over to the right, it'll show you where your materials are. So I can either press the magnifying glass or export it. I'm going to export it. If you can't get in, just email one of us and we'll reset it. So this is all the materials that Roosevelt will get. So it says on here, it'll say English 1, she'll have 120 books. English 2, 120 books. Algebra 1, 110 books. So based off of you looking at your campus rosters for testing, you should know if this is an adequate number or not. So if you need additional materials, you'll go to our website. Okay, and and then click additional orders, and then just order the materials. It should be done. Yeah, and just order additional materials. And we're asking you that you have this completed by next Tuesday. And you probably won't get your additional materials until after Thanksgiving break. But again, we want to be proactive, and we need you to do it by the 19th because we're going to make our district an additional order based off what has been captured in our DISD system on that next Wednesday. Okay, let me go back to the PowerPoint. On November 14th is when you need to share your plan with your principal. Again, you should be working on your rosters right now. Make sure that you're looking up students and not just relying on the need to pass roster. Just all new enrollees, you should probably look those students up. And you should receive your shipment of materials by November 21st. November what? 21st. Thursday, the 21st.
Oh.
Yeah, you'll have both on the campus, and so hopefully you'll have room to squeeze all this information. And then training, you need to have training conducted for EOCs by December 6th. So right after Thanksgiving is the last day to do training. Generally speaking, once we train you guys, you have the information, so you can give it as soon as possible. So just think about that and make sure you're planning accordingly. The test dates, remember English 1 and English 2, those are required scheduled dates. All the other tests can be taken any time in the week of December 12th, 10th to the 13th. And just base your schedule off your numbers. So if you know you only have 59 algebra kids, you can test them the same day you test English 1. So work your schedule. If you need help with planning your schedule, contact one of us and we will come out and help support you as needed. You're going to turn, we already noticed that some people have already started capturing when they want to turn their scorables in. Please make sure to do that. It's on the agenda. Under action items, I think. And we will be there to support you, so let us know your needs and we will help you guys out. Few star reminders, you're going to deliver scorables either on the 13th or the 16th, that Monday. Remember, the 16th is the first day of EOCs, or one of the days for EOCs, so keep that in mind when you're planning out your schedule. And you also are going to hand deliver your scorables, non-scorables as well. And the reason why is because we have to turn the stuff around to the state that exact same week. And we probably would, if we waited on a ship, the truckers to come pick it up, we'd probably be waiting until after January. So we need you to just bring them with you. We know the largest campus has like 13 boxes. Skyline has 13 boxes. So no one has more than 15 boxes. And you're going to receive the score reports within the district. We'll get them on January 14th. We'll let you know when they're posted on My Data portal. Remember, you need to follow the test security guidelines that Rena has talked about. You have to train any oral administrator in a separate trainer. We need you to make sure you do that. Remember, English 1 and English 2 are set dates. You cannot test those students on different dates. But if a student is absent on the English 1 day, you can test them on that Wednesday if they do not come to school on that Tuesday. Try to limit your announcements on the speaker, on your overall speaker on that day. Remember to follow the planner. We've printed out how to hand grid and answer document. As soon as the pre-code roster is uploaded to My Data Portal, we'll send out an email to that. Remind the teachers about active monitoring and what that looks like. When you're watching the videos, if you're doing it as a group, just have discussions on what active monitoring is and what it is not so they can know. Make sure that you have enough pencils, enough clocks for each room. Volunteers, you need to limit them. If they are not district employees, they should not be on the campus. You shouldn't have drinks or candy around test booklets, and make sure to monitor the extended time. Every day you should be quality controlling, so ideally you should be preparing at least 2 days in advance when you're preparing your buckets. That way you will be ahead of the schedule, and it'll help just in case that a bad event happens on campus, that an unexpected event happens on campus. So try to plan 2 days ahead. When you are voiding, and we do have void stamps for the few, I emailed a few people and asked them if they needed a void stamp. I have those today. We also will be giving you guys alpha sorters today that you can use to organize your answer documents by alphabetical order. Quality control, make sure that you quality control every day on your campus. Don't just have them turning in the buckets and you not check the materials. Make sure every answer document has a score code on it before they submit that stuff back into you. Our quality control is not the time for you to prepare. You should be doing that on the campus. And when you do come to quality control, please make sure to bring your laptop. So if you do have to look up a student because you didn't fill something out on the seating chart, just bring your laptop. The time limits for each test is 4 hours for Algebra 1, Biology, and U.S. History, 5 hours for the English test. Make sure the time is captured on the screen. You can either have the teachers write it down, or you can have an electronic clock. But they need to know how much time they have left. Tardy students can test. Make sure that you have like a late test room, and you can have someone out in the hallway read to them the instructions so they're not interrupting the students if you decide to let them go to their room and test if that's the case. Again, you can have a timer, you can have a smart board with a stopwatch. Just make sure that the kids know what the time left is. Makeup testing. Students can make up the test at any time during that week. During December, we only have 1 week of testing. In the spring is where after the English exams in May, we have the testing online for the additional week. If a student becomes sick, they can come back and complete the exam the next day. So new with ETS this year, they're gonna, all the answers that were captured on the previous day, they have 24 hours. Once that 24-hour mark hits and they need to come back, they'll start where they left off. They can't go back and even touch. So even if they did go back and look at the answers, they can view, but they can't change it because ETS is capturing the information this year. So that's a plus for those who are using the online testing. For those testing on paper, make sure to have a sticky note or a clip to mark off where they stopped, because they should not be going back to what they answered or captured on the previous testing day. If you just happen to have a tax student that tests on paper, again, we want them to test online. But I do know of one tax student that will be, I think they're gonna be a scholar, that's gonna take the paper exam. Make sure to mark the bubbles on the answer document. T is for ELA. R is for TOS and teens reading. W is for TOS writing, and reading, writing are for sections of the TOS. So if you don't know what they need, contact us and we will look their test history up so that they can be tested accordingly. For Algebra 1, you would just mark T, and for Biology and U.S. History, you would mark T. New to Texas, we showed you guys at our last meeting how to look up students that are new to Texas in Power School. So if you can't remember, you need to go to the Power School Manual for Testing Coordinators and you can pull it up. I think it's just entry code equals EOS. Yeah, entry code EOS. And Power School, and that'll show you all the students that your data controller has captured as new to Texas. So it's possible that there might be more, but your data controller didn't capture them. So just have a conversation with the data controller on campus. And any student that is new to Texas, you need to bubble that field on the answer document. The manual will be shipped with all the other materials that you receive. Remember that the manual, you're going to have to keep those, so you won't ship those back with your non-scorables, because the manuals will be used for the entire school year. Again, the EOC manuals that will be shipped in November will be used for the entire school year. So do not bring those back with you to quality control when you deliver your non-scorable materials.
Can the teachers keep them, or will we collect them?
I would think that you probably need to collect them so you can have them, because the teacher might lose it. But whatever your organizational style is, that's fine, but if it was me, I would collect them up so they wouldn't lose it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Medical exclusion. There are some homebound students that are unable to test, and if that is the case, if they're absent that week of testing, on the last day of the testing window, that's when the medical exclusion form is available. And when it is available, if you know you have a student that will need a medical exclusion, just email me and I will give you the link. Those students will be marked absent. Students who refuse to test, that's going to start off with Lakedra. Oh, no. It's deletion. Oh.
No, actually, you need to finish it out.
Oh, you are okay. Students who refuse to test, we talked about this at our last meeting. You cannot make a student that is already tested once to keep retesting. If they don't want to test, they just don't want to test. So students that are testing for the first time, you mark them score. Students that have tested once and just refuse to test, you would mark them O. And in the summer, we void the answer documents for students that refuse to test. Now, someone will come up and talk about preparing the answer document. Oh.
Okay. Charlenta was on the roll there, so we didn't let her stop, but good job. Now we're going into the part we're going to learn how to prepare the answer document for your students. Keisha, do I need to stay over here?
I'll go, just do your thing.
That's okay, because you're not going to stay still. All right. So remember, when you're handwritten the answer document, the important information that's needed, You can use the Star Pre-Code report that will be posted on my data to give you the information. It'll have all your students on there. Most of your students, it should. But you also need the student's name, their local ID number, their PINS number, date of birth, any accommodations the students may use, and the demographic information for the student. Again, in your planner, we have a sample answer document at the back of your planner. It shows you how to hand grid it and the important information that's needed. The last page in your planner gives you a sample answer document. So make sure if you're trying to bubble, it should look like this. You're gonna go bubble, make sure you bubble all the correct information, okay, for the student, hand gridded information. If it's not bubbled correctly, it can make a mistake for the student and your campus, and we don't want any mistakes. And so, again, here's some samples of what you need to bubble, and we've circled them for you so you'll know what to bubble. PINs and campus, local ID number, everything is left justified. Score codes will be A stands for absent, O stands for other, and S stands for score. Then you look at your, as Charlotte already talked about the tax, TOS, and TEAMS information, and then the accommodation, DS, designated support, LP, large print, XD is extra data, you have to get TA approval, OA, oral administration, and EE is spelling assistant. So you have, and that's only for the English test.
And that's captured somewhere.
Yeah, on the answer document, I mean the codes. The codes, like it'll be captured either for your, you get your SPED students from your list, you get your roster from them, your 504, your, what's going in my data. Okay? And we already told you what those bubbles mean. And remember, this PowerPoint is posted, so you don't have to necessarily take pictures unless you just want to, but it is posted, okay? Now, this is a review from designated supports. We took the training. I'm just kind of curious. How many of y'all went back? We trained you all in September. How many of you went back and did your training of your staff? You know, the designated supports training we did in September. Remember, this is a trainer of trainers. When we train you, it's your responsibility to go back to your campus and come up with a training plan for your campus, because your teachers won't know unless you train them. The information is not just for you to keep. The information is for you to make sure that your staff, they know the information and they know what to do. Or otherwise, it'll make your job a whole lot harder because they won't know. So please take the information back to your campus, get with your administration, y'all decide how the training is going to take place. Are you gonna train everybody? Are you gonna train a small group? And then they're gonna go train somebody else? But the information needs to be presented to your staff. And the reason I asked that question is because the last week, right before designated supports were due, we got so many calls, like, well, what do we do here? And how do we do this stuff? We trained out in September, what happened? What does this mean? That meant that there was a breakdown somewhere.
I had a teacher that went in and put large print for a bunch of shit, me too, and now it can't be changed. I thought I saw somewhere in your TC that the principals can still do it.
They can.
Well, the principal said he could.
Oh, well. He may not know how, but they can be done. So again, accessibility features, this is just an overview because we went into detail in September, but remember, your accessibility features are available to most students if they meet eligibility requirements. Using your DCCR under the resource, the webpage, you can find those. They're available to any student, making sure that once you pull your spreadsheet from my data, using that spreadsheet to help you be able to group your students appropriately. And remember, a student cannot be required to use them. If they choose not to, that's the student. Individual or small group administrations, that's something new. TA decided this year to kind of give us a definition of what is a small group. So, the number of students in a small group is determined at the local level based on the needs of each student. Number of students in a small group should mirror as much as possible the same group size classroom testing situation. For example, and y'all make sure y'all help me make sure I'm saying this correctly, team. If a student is testing a small group, let's just say you have 8 students and that's how the student normally tests as a small group, then on testing day, 8 students can be a small group. But would 30 students really mirror a small group?
Yeah.
No, so you couldn't necessarily make that a small group. It's kind of based on the needs of how the student normally tests, okay?
20 might be a small group, however.
Well, it just kind of depends on those individual needs of those students. Not the individual needs to say, well, I gotta make 20 a small group because I have 20 students that need a calculator and I don't have space for them. But those students are normally accustomed to testing with 20 people in a group, then it's not a small group. Designated supports, remember the students have to, it must be based on the eligibility requirement in the policy document. Reading the policy document from the top of the policy document to the bottom of the policy document. And it's organized with those 6 different sections. Content and language support is new this year where they will take the pre-reading out because now with the separation of the revising and editing, they can take that part out. So beginning in the spring of 2020, all writing tests, English 1 and 2 will only have pre-readings prior to the editing passages, okay? Because they can read the revising part. And that's spring 2020. So now for you guys, it's not, all right? Those that require TEA approval, complex transcribing, mathematics scribe, extra day, and other. Charlene mentioned earlier, make sure if you have any student that may fall in that category that need those designated supports requiring TEA approval, that you go ahead and get that information in so TEA can begin to process it as soon as it's available.
I had a kid that was approved for complex transcribing. Is that throughout his entire high school career? I don't have to reapply.
No, it's every year. It's only, it expires in June of the school year, so you have to resubmit for this year. And the reason it's not based on a student's entire school experience because things can change. So make sure if you have a student that did it last year and the art is saying that the student will do it again this year, you must resubmit the information for this year because it expires at the last test administration, which is in June 2020. And I know you're probably thinking before, Julie, how it used to go from January to December. No, remember school year, from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year.
Okay, but I had him for last school year. So I need to do it for this school year now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it.
And this is the accommodation request process. The form should be submitted online. They're gonna open, did they open already, Charlene? Oh, no. The ARC? Yeah, the ARC is open already. The link can be found on your accommodations resource page in your DCCR. And I think we may have posted. And then again, Julie, to answer your question, here it is, June 30th, 2020 is when it expires.
Okay.
Got the handout.
So once you do it for the year, you don't have to do it for each test administration, but it has to be done for the entire, now, and it lasts for the whole year. Okay? The process, step 1, determine eligibility. Step 2, complete and submit. Step 3, TA will review, and then you will receive an email, and it'll let you know if it has been approved or if it has not been approved, or they need more additional information. Please do not submit any student identifying information on the request form, or they will deny it. LPAC decision-making requirements this year. The LPAC alone has the authority for decisions only for oral admin, content and language supports, and extra time, because all the other designated supports are not linguistic designated support. So the LPAC can only make those designated support decisions alone for those 3 areas. The others they have to do in conjunction with another committee, such as the ARD or RTI or 504. Okay? But they cannot make it alone. Now, the STAR Assessment Management System. You all were in it just a moment ago, because some of y'all sent me an email and said, can you please reset my password? We can only give you an overview. Felicia, or we should send Felicia help update PowerPoint that we'll be sending out. That will give you the step-by-steps. It's kind of compact, so it'll make it very easy. So we'll send that out later this week. And as you get closer to the window, you'll be able to go in and do these steps. I'm just going to give you an overview of the steps, but you will be able to, just so you have an idea of what to do once you get in there. Was everybody able to access it? Yes. Good. And make sure you stay in there. All right, so everybody know how to access it. You check thesassessment.com, you go to the steps, and you log in. Note, it is time. How many of your campuses have already started doing practice tutorials with your students? Good. For those of you that have already started, those of you that have not, you are behind. Make sure that your students have time to practice. If they don't have time to practice, they won't know how to operate on the system. So give them time to practice. There must be a secure browser. We automatic update ours, but just in case it's not updated, make sure that you go in. The newest one is 3.14.0. So make sure you go look at your computers on your for those students that's tested online, to make sure the secure browser, and it's found in this little corner right here on your screen. It's going to say, when you pull it up, it should say 3.14.0. Go back. This one? Yes. That's the version. D just stands for version. Should just say 3.14.0. Okay? From the brain-free software. Thank you. The DIC Software Center. When it shoots it out, it should update it automatically. But if yours has not been updated on the computer that you're using, go ahead, log into the Software Center, and download it from the Software Center to ensure that it's there. I would get started with that and just double checking now, not the day of the test, because some of my stuff is not updated. So let's go ahead and look now just to make sure that it is. Charlene already went over this, right? Locating your materials in the STAR assessment matrices. So getting ready for tutorials and practice tests. It's so important that, again, that you give your students an opportunity to practice. So get with your leadership team and you all determine how this is going to happen on your campus. It's not an option, it's a requirement. Give the students an opportunity to pass so that they can be familiar with it. Start tutorials. Each tab at the bottom of the screen contains a page explaining the online feature or tool. The videos do not have sound. The second page of each tab is a question to practice the feature tool, and the questions do not contain tested content. Now, this is our suggestion. Our suggestion is not only that you give your the students an opportunity, but have your teachers to go through the process so that they will understand what the students will experience once they're testing, to give them a better idea of how this online testing works. Felicia?
Just letting you know, we also have the ETS produced a little PowerPoint, and it walks through what each of the tools can be used for. It's called STAR Tutorials and Tools, and so I will attach that to the weekly this week, and it's probably already posted on the website under Coordinated Resources. So it's basically what the students will encounter with the tools.
Yeah, so it's a good idea that you, the test administrator, just to go through it so that they can have an idea of, oh, this is what a student might experience as they are using the tools and doing the practice online, okay? Then I think you'll have a better idea of what to do. The practice test from the STAR online testing platform, select practice. They're released from 2017 and 2018. All PMPs are available, including the text-to-speech, spelling assistance, and content and language support. So that's another practice tool for your students. There's the educator guide for accessibility within the STAR program. I would also share that with my staff so that they can have a deeper understanding of what the accessibility guide says and what does that mean for our students, and then looking at the functionality. Again, those are the online tools. It's located in Appendix B, page 72 in your test administrator manual. So in the back of your test administrator manual, you'll see those shots that kind of tell you what the what these online tools are that your students will experience. You have the opportunity to view online testing session information. You get the student level view. You change values in the drop-down menus to find a subset of students or view different types of students. The print icon means to print the student test tickets. The one that looks like a check mark that sets test attributes. And then the last one is do not report or void, and you really shouldn't use that at all, okay? Unless something happens, you need to contact us before you choose the do not report or void. That's not really, you really should use that. Printing test tickets. Test tickets are available for printing 1 week prior to the start of the testing window. So for you all, that will be December the 2nd, I think. 2nd or 3rd, whatever that date is. I think it's the 2nd. So you can begin printing tickets. It's not anything wrong. No. I was doing something else. I got to. Testing group rosters and student test tickets contain PMP information, so that means they're secure materials. Ensure that students that are eligible to receive embedded supports have the information noted on their tickets. So that's why you're looking at the tickets clearly. If I need PMPs, but mine is blank, that's a signal to you to go back in and, I need to go in and click the PMPs for this student. Once we upload for the students and everything that's been captured in all the systems, then we're going to upload it. However, it's your job to ensure that we have the information that was entered is correct. Okay, whatever we captured, it's your job to make sure that it is correct. Okay, if not, go back in and turn it on or turn it off if anything is incorrect. And so you won't necessarily know how to do this until you get closer, because I know for the new people it seems a little foreign to you, but once you get closer and you're able to do this, it'll make a whole lot more sense, okay? Questions? Stretch break. Okay. We need to finish this part as it relates to update your PMPs. Again, you will go into the system and update your PMPs. This is once the student has already started testing, log out of have the student log out the online test, update the PMP embedded supports, and it's a test tab again. There is a PowerPoint with step-by-step, so it'll show you can see it. Then you return to the online test group where the ticket is located. Refresh the browser to update the sync status, and you have to wait till it says ready, because it's going to say sync process and all that. Once it says ready, the student can log in and then can resume testing after that. Attributes the same way. For the December administration, you will verify the score code and other attributes for the student. This can only be done through Monday, December the 16th. I think I'm thinking my date's correct. You only get to 5 o'clock if you have to do it. So if you have to update a student's attributes, it can only be done through Monday, December the 16th, 5 p.m. Ready to test, like any student that's uploaded that does not test online, there's no need for you to do anything. It will automatically expire. Okay, so don't go anything you have to close out or void or anything. It will automatically expire. We talked briefly earlier about quality control, returning your scorables. Make sure as you're taking in your scorables from your test administrators, make sure they have left nothing in their books. Whatever you give to them, they have to return that back to you. Make sure the answer sheets for their testing group is separate. All the information that's supposed to be on the answer sheet is there, and as well as the seating chart. Check all that in. If you have a smooth quality control checking in, you shouldn't have any problems when you come to us, because you're going to check the materials in from the test administrators, then your quality control as a whole, get your stuff ready, put it in the box, and return to us. Everything should be good. Don't destroy anything, return everything to us, all right? Organize your answer documents with paper bands, and again, the information at the back of your planner will help you. Use that document to help you bring your laptop to quality control. There is a campus and group ID sheet that needs to go with it, as well as, and it
should already have your name, campus name and district name pre-coded on there. This is right justified. So if you had just 18 answer documents, you would put 0018, okay? So this is a right justified document.
Back to the first slide. Are we gonna get enough of those every year? We seem like we have to ask for enough boards, enough things, enough, we don't have, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, so. I don't know, they gonna just send you what they send you. If not, we'll have extras over there. And so, she said, you might get enough, you might not. So, but you should, but remember, when you put all your answer documents together, like all your English 1 answer documents, you only need one pink one, and then that, well, I don't know what color that is, it's like orange up there, but I think it's like a tannish color. I can't remember. This again is at the back of your planner, and it tells you how to go through and quality control. And so make sure you keep up with that and read that carefully before bringing in your materials. We're gonna email that, Felicia, the other quality control document that, or we're gonna make a link to it in this week's week policy. The one that they have to tell us about how many they're submitting, that we're gonna use at the place.
Let's email it.
All right, so as we get closer to, we probably won't put it in the weekly until soon. We'll say soon. We don't know if it's gonna be this week or not. But for those of you that are returning, you know what I'm talking about. The others of you are looking at me like, what are you talking about? I see that in your face. Terry said like, but it'll be on the website. But basically, it's the quality control document that you're gonna bring with you to us. And it has the test listed. It'll tell us the number of tests you're bringing and whether or not you won't have any makeups because testing ends on that day unless you come on that Friday, but hopefully you won't have any makeups to still do because we took that off. And that you have any boards and so on and so on. But we'll post it so it's just a document you bring in and we'll give you, that'll probably be your copy when you return. And this is the second page. Again, you have to return your non-scorables with you. So when you bring your scorables separately from your non-scorables, but you bring them all together. When I mean separately, your scorables need to be in their own little box, and then your non-scorables go back in the boxes that they came in, okay? Everybody got that, right? Scorables go in their own little box, and then the non-scorables go back in the boxes that they came in. We clear on that? Oh.
There'll be somebody down there to upload them.
Yes. We have that all planned out. Help you out. So again, before coming to quality control, organize and pack your materials in the empty boxes that they came in. That's for the non-scoreable. The service center will send you labels. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to send you labels. You're going to get a colored label. I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute for your ETS label. And you're going to get some non-scoreable labels. Make sure you put those on the boxes correctly, okay? Because when you come in and they check you in, you want all your materials to be all right, so you don't have to go redo them at the service center, okay? Make sure you put them on there correct, and I'll show you how to do it. Put all test booklets used and unused back in numerical order by subject for EOCs. Use the materials control form and packing list to ensure that you're returning all your booklets and non-scoreable materials and hand delivered during your scheduled time. You are selecting your time, right? So you're selecting your time, right? You're selecting your time, right? Yes. What's the deadline to select your time by? November the 20th. You think on ACPs, we're gonna get on that this minute. Yeah, so November the 22nd, you're gonna go to the link. Remember, Charlotte talked about that in the beginning. Go to the link and select your time to return your EOC materials. Your ACP materials, y'all gonna do that in just a minute. We're gonna talk about that in just a minute. But your EOC materials, you're selecting the time that you want to return your EOC testing materials. So make sure you put it in your calendar. So I'm returning my materials on this date and allow time for travel, right? Because we're in Dallas, and they said DFW has the worst traffic. I don't know. I'm just saying. Here's a checklist, and it's also in your planner. Use your quality control non-scoreable checklist to assist you in packing your non-scoreable materials. Questions? There is a blue EOC label, that's the ETS label. You're going to get a little white label, the Dallas ISD label with the 057905, and it's going to, that's all you have to put. Don't write anything else on there because you're going to put that on top of your blue label. And then you're going to have a white local DIC non-scorable label that's going to go on the short side of your box. So, your Algebra 1, all your boxes, Biology, E1, E2, and US History, you're going to box up, use the 3 correct labels, fill out completely and number the boxes. So, Skyline, how many boxes we say you have? We said 15, so she might end up with 14. So let's just say she ends up with 16 boxes, because you know the books do what? They expand just a little bit. So once they expand, if she has 16 boxes, what should her numbers be? 1 of 16, 2 of 16, 3 of 16, 4 of 16, all those boxes, right? So she's going to have the DISD non-scorable label on there, and she's going to fill out that information correctly, and then she's going to have 16 little blue labels, right? So if that's how many she has. Now we only send you 14 because that's how many boxes you have going. Then you will get the other, you can request the other 2 or you'll pick them up at the service center, okay? So again, this is your non-scorable, a large picture of your non-scorable label that goes on the short side of the box. It has to go on the short side of the box because there's a certain way they have to stack them in the service center. And that's, you know, in order for them to see it and for safety purposes. So make sure that you type in your, write in your school's name legibly, write in box, whatever it is, 2 of 3 or 5 of 3, or 5 of, not 5 of 3, 5 of 8 or whatever it is, okay? And then the non-scorable, you would affix it at the short end of the box. Your blue label, the only thing you need to do is take the little white label we're giving and place it on here in this spot, and that's it. You don't have to write anything else on it. Questions about non-scorable materials returning scorable materials? No, ma'am, we good? Show those questions.
No, I'm just gonna make an observation on the sign-in. Well, I know we have 13 new high school testing coordinators. It behooves you to go in and try to select the time now. One of the later slots, I did notice that we do have some veteran TCs who pick later slots. Could you be so courteous as to move up to let the novice testing coordinators get the last time? So, and if you have a campus with a small number of students, you can move up also as well.
So again, your materials. Now, let me say this before we get ready to move into the transition to the other things. We're training you both on EOC and ACP today because of time and all that. We're going to have the holidays and all that. We're not recommending that you do that. On campus, you do a separate training for EOC. You got it? Everybody understand it?
Yeah.
Then you're going to pick another day to do your ACP training according to the calendar guidelines. Do not train everybody the same day because it's a lot of information and you do not want to confuse your staff members. But we're training you on both today. There's similarities, but there are a whole lot of differences. So please make sure that you understand that. Questions? Well, so this is supposed to be the slide that we took. We're going to take a, don't